it's the most alive, the most vivid, the most lucid, the most fulfilling way to live. To me, there is no other way to live. The more that I jump off these cliffs, that I take off these old restrictive roles, that I move towards these growth edges, I can't go back because I feel so me. I feel so alive. Colors are brighter. Like every single part of the human experience is more vivid. Like, it's like to describe it, I just want to scream. It's totally unexpected for me to capture a video right now, and yet everything in this transition has such a life of its own. I feel like I'm in a sailboat and I'm at the mercy of the current and the wind, and really, more than being at the mercy, it is a co-creation, but there's no controlling the current and the wind. I can feel which direction the wind is going in. I can feel which direction the current is pulling me in, and I can loosely steer the direction that the sailboat is going to go. But the current's going there. The wind is blowing me there, and I think this is really the embodiment of ecstatic living, is being so lucidly alive, so consciously attuned to that current, to the direction that the wind is blowing, that you are able to navigate your role in the co-creation, steering that sailboat down to each and every minute. What am I going to do with this minute, with this moment, with this hour, with this thought, with this choice, with this breath, with this response, with this longing in my body, with this responsibility, with this feeling? every single second is a moment that you are standing at the helm of that sailboat and choosing how you're going to co-creatively respond to the currents, how you're going to steer. It's so beautiful for that analogy to come up, because I'm shifting out of 4 years of being in the role, in the identity of guide, teacher, space holder, working primarily with astrology. That's what got me into it, actually. That was the very beginning, is just doing astrology readings, and then that expanded into what I called soul embodiment experiences. That was combining astrology and somatic work and ritual, and ultimately spiritual mentorship that actually takes into account your soul's blueprint, astrology, your somatic intelligence, your body, the wisdom of actually being fully in a body and bringing your soul down and in, and consciously co-creating with the unseen realm. And so naturally the metaphor I would use was that it's like we're all in sailboats, and you can be paying attention to what's going on in your life. Then I was really emphasizing paying attention to what's going on astrologically, and I do this for myself still. I am a living and breathing embodiment of what I was guiding others in. I would not be where I am today without somatic awareness, without astrology, without communing with the spirit world. I have been guided by my soul, ironically, and so timely when you're really in the soul embodiment journey. Yeah, things evolve, your role evolves, your understanding of who you are and the role that you came here to play. It's this journey is just constantly stripping so that you can get back to what I call the original soul essence. And I really liken this to working with the inner child, but it's not just inner child as in, it's when you get past all the narratives and the trauma and what happened in the past that was difficult with the inner child, and you just get so to the core of the essence of your inner child, and you are just becoming the living embodiment of that. It's beyond narrative. It's beyond what happened in the past. It's you fully stepping into who you are at the original soul essence level. So it's a stripping down and stripping down, but I was using the same metaphor then, and so it's beautiful, as this is the first time I'm really outwardly talking about this shift now, that the same metaphor would come up because it still applies. So whether you're in the sailboat as a human, alive, I say it as a soul embodied into a human body, alive on planet Earth, you're always in this sailboat, because there is always a stream of consciousness, a higher intelligence, a movement of life that's happening beyond your control. So it's like being in this boat on a river, and you can either kind of bury your head in the sand and be someone who's trying to like cling to the banks of the river because you don't want to own your power of co-creation. We're gripping on so hard, it's because there's this deep-seated fear of responsibility for how much power we do actually have to co-create with this overall current. And so you can either be holding on to the banks like that, or you can be in the river, but you're just kind of floating along, not tapping in, just kind of letting life happen to you. And so that moment when you decide to step into ecstatic living, to step into this seat of conscious co-creation. That's how I just described the analogy at the beginning. You're feeling the wind. You're feeling yourself being moved by the current. And you're ever so subtly listening to those signals. And with each and every breath, choice, feeling, thought, interaction, desire, you're responding. And so that leads beautifully to why I am recording this first video of this new chapter I'm writing in my life, where I have come to a level of connection with my original soul essence that I recognize that role of spiritual guide, space holder, astrologer. It's an outdated protective mechanism to keep me from just being the embodiment of my original soul essence. So I have chosen to take it off. It feels like I'm a snail or a crab that's outgrown the shell. And I've had to make the choice to feel that current. It's like, wow, my original soul essence is getting louder and stronger and more tangible for me every day. Like, I can't not recognize that there is this momentous blossoming happening. And in that blossoming, I can't not recognize that there are shells that I've been wearing that will not allow me to continue in this blossoming if I keep them on. So the uncomfortable stripping of what, things that feel like home, things that they feel like a sense of safety, a sense of protection to just come out into the world fully raw and embodied as your original soul essence is fucking vulnerable. There's a reason why a lot of us don't do it, and why it takes healing journeys and spiritual awakening and all, often like you can have big loss in your life or experience big grief, like near-death experiences. It takes these really big things to kind of activate you into this place of courageousness to keep moving in the direction of being stripped, of choosing for yourself that you're going to take off the shells when they get too small, and you're going to let yourself be a little bit naked and exposed and raw and the human brain unsure, even though you wouldn't take off the shell unless a very deep part of you knew that was the right thing to do. You'll allow yourself to do that, knowing that as you step into the new, bigger, more spacious, more true to you shell, of course things are going to fill in and life is going to respond and everything is going to be increasingly, exponentially feeling more aligned and more alive for you, because you're attuning yourself to this original soul essence and letting that be the shell that you're wearing. So I was saying it's so perfect that I'm filming this right now, because I am in the final days of having gone home to spend time with my family after 4 years of being away. Yeah, it was 4 years ago that I got the call to go to the Sacred Valley in Peru. Well, actually, I didn't know at the time that it was going to be the Sacred Valley. I knew I was getting the call to go to Peru. And I made the move and I did it, and it felt like it was going to be something long-term, though I couldn't really put my finger on it. So it was like, okay, maybe 3-4 months. But there was a part of me that sensed something bigger was opening. And sure enough, I ended up living in Peru for 3.5 years. And so, yeah, this year, or no, not this year, in 2025, After living in the Sacred Valley in Peru for 3.5 years, I got the call that that chapter was closing. And of course, there was sort of a process leading up to that, but it was in the just before, oh yeah, middle of spring 2025, that it was really clear that it was time to really officially wrap things up. And very strong calling to the north, very strong calling to ancestral lands, very strong calling to this a vision of this life for myself that now I can describe as just so connected to my original soul essence. But at that point, it was just a lot of feelings, visions, breadcrumbs, but not really being able to see how it was all coming together and why exactly. But just following each tiny breadcrumb, it was so clear when it was time for me to leave Peru. It was so clear that I was being called to come back to the United States. My brother was getting married. It felt really aligned for me that before I would step out into this future vision that was ultimately calling me to what I call the ancestral homelands of Mother Europe. I'm primarily European in descent, and just love and identify so much with that phrase, Mother Europe, as these initial lands that my family came from for so many generations, and that I visited several times and have always felt a really strong connection to. But that before I would launch into living that vision, I would get called to spend time with my family right now. And there's a lot of sort of complicated dynamics in my family, but so much of my journey has been about healing from within, about, really tending to the ruptures from inside me that happened as a young child, from things, so many things passed down ancestrally, and just making that choice to be the one who is gonna do it differently, not assign blame to anyone, fully own what happened and what was living residually inside me, and find my voice again to be able to speak to these things, but from a place of love and choosing healing than out of a place of hurt and blame. So I'm sure, I know for many people, the choice to go home isn't always just a simple, yeah, I'm going to go home. There's a lot there. But I knew everything in my body was telling me, like, this is an essential stepping stone towards that vision. And there were many phases in that, and I'm sure I will get to that as I continue to build this beautiful vlog. But for today, bringing it all the way full circle, why this moment is so perfect to be serendipitously, unexpectedly inspired to make this first video for the vlog, is I'm in my final days of having been at home. In total, it will be 3 months. I came here at the night of October 30th, so there was this beautiful serendipity of being able to spend sort of the 3 major holidays for my family at this time of year. Halloween with my niece and my nephews, Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, actually, so 4 holidays. So October 30th to January 27th looks like, yeah, I have my flight, so that should be the day. So I'm in these final days here. Today is January 8th, but I'm already feeling the momentum is so strong. The orientation towards leaving and everything that's coming through. I know that these final days are just gonna fly by in a flash. And yeah, so I'm on the other side of that very essential stepping stone. And what looks to be birthing is another 2-month stepping stone in the mountains of Colorado, like 3.5 hours outside of Denver. It looks like I'm going to be doing two. Well, I'm going to see a friend who just got a tiny home there, which is so wonderful. I can't get over it. She's been dreaming of this, and to get to step into this reality and experience that with her for how long she's been dreaming about this is just amazing. And then I'm going to do 2 back-to-back pet sitting opportunities at 2 small towns in this area where my friend lives. So I get to be around a dear soul sister of mine at the same time that I am getting to be back in much more wild, rugged nature again, which is my happy place. It's not my only happy place, but it's essential. It's absolutely essential for me to feel so removed. The saying I always use is to be in an area where there's more trees than people. It is so essential for my nervous system to be able to just walk outside into wild nature. And I have been dreaming of living in a proper winter for my whole life, actually, because I'm from Southern California. We have mountains here, of course, so I've gone up into the mountains for, maybe max a week at a time during winter. But it's one of my visions calling me is to live in a place where there's a proper winter, or even split my time half and half. That I would actually, like most people leave winter areas where there's winter to go to warmer places. I actually want to plan living in a place where there's winter while there's winter, and living in a different place the rest of the year for different reasons that I'll share later. But so to get this 2 full months of winter in this winter retreat as the in-between stepping stone between 3 months of some beautiful, powerful, deep, soulful, nervous system, somatic, heart transformations having returned to my family during this time before I go to Europe. Before this vision that I had that came to me just before I was called to leave Peru is now showing itself. It's basically a year later is, okay, I've done sort of the breadcrumbs and the stepping stones that came to me as I was feeling the wind and feeling the current. This is what I was guided to do in this year before feeling the portal opening, the door opening to Europe, which I will go into more later, what that's going to look like. Obviously, that's going to be a big part of this vlog. But here I am in the final days of this stepping stone, getting the call to start this vlog, which I've only recently discovered is an essential part of this new shell that I've put on. And this is the shell that allows me to move in the direction of this soul calling that I have to return to Mother Europe and to step into the next physical manifestation of ecstatic living for me. So ecstatic living, I want to leave us all with that right now. The whole point of this vlog is to capture, to document, to creatively express and share what it means to live a life devoted to ecstatic living. And ecstatic living is just that you are following your growth edges wherever they're calling you. What is that growth edge that's going to require you to be courageous? That's going to require you to stretch into new capacities that you maybe at the time you don't really think you're capable of. that's going to ask you to take off these old shells, these old protective identities, these old protective roles, so that you can actually get closer to living as the embodiment of your original soul essence. And why do we do that? Because it's, in my experience, it's the most alive, the most vivid, the most lucid, the most fulfilling way to live. To me, there is no other way to live. The more that I jump off these cliffs, that I take off these old restrictive roles, that I move towards these growth edges, I can't go back, because I feel so me. I feel so alive. Colors are brighter. Like, every single part of the human experience is more vivid. Like, it's like, to describe it, I just want to scream. Everything becomes so alive. I'm looking at the sun on the grass that has drops of dew on it, and it's not just my mind registering that it's beautiful. My body can feel the aliveness of it, that everything around me is this living, breathing, pulsating canvas for me to be co-creating with. Like, it's both all the art supplies, the paints, the materials, and the canvas itself. Like, I realized recently, I'm like, oh, this is why people are always talking about main character energy. That's not a phrase that I use, but I'm basically, that's exactly what ecstatic living is. But it's beyond just being in that seat. Is like recognizing you are the actor, the set designer, the director of your life. But it's the felt sense of aliveness that comes from that comes with that. And the beauty and the love and the grace and the expansion that comes with it. I would never choose any other way of living. There's no going back. So here's this moment where I'm really on this huge leap of faith, going from one stepping stone into the next, trusting and doubling down on this path that's calling me, that's been calling me for a year, and doing that in a very co-creative, receptive way. I'm not pushing and forcing this. If I was just pushing and forcing, I'd probably already be there. I'm following the energetics. I'm following the current, right? Which way is the wind blowing? Where's my body telling me to go? What is my intuition guiding me to do? And this morning, it guided me to come back to this beautiful spot that has, as you've seen in the video already, this lovely vista of the sunrise. And I wasn't expecting to record this video, but there is my feedback for today. This vlog is no longer on my to-do list. I've just officially started it. This next stepping stone is coming. I am on the trajectory of this path that my soul is calling me for. I am embodying ecstatic living as it is for me today. And I hope that this inspires you today and every other day of this vlog to move towards your growth edges, to go in the direction of whatever your soul is calling you towards, no matter what you have to let go of and transform. Letting yourself do that with heart, with honesty, and with courageousness, and then doing it, and then writing in the comments and telling me how amazing it is to be ecstatically alive. Mwah.